A little disclaimer before I dive into my review. Blizzard Entertainment and Random House Books, they were kind enough to provide me with a copy of Before the Storm in order to do this review. No requirements or restrictions were attached to this, besides, of course, keep my mouth shut until the 7th of June. Now this video is a review of the book, and naturally I'm not going to go into any massive spoilers. The story of that will come in a little while, so that enough people actually have the time to read it for themselves, since I would recommend picking it up and experience the story. The setup is that it takes place after the Horde and Alliance have come home from the victory in Argus, victory over Sargeras and the Legion, but of course one that wasn't earned without taking some massive damage. Specifically, that massive sword that's currently sticking out of Silithus. That's not really healthy for the world, nor is it healthy for the relations between Alliance and the Horde. Azeroth is the talk of the town, with both factions finding out what this stuff could mean for the future, and both factions having completely different ideas on how they're going to utilize it.
This will change everything.
I told you!
That's what part of the story is about, the mindset of the factions and how they're going to deal with this new substance emerging out of the world. It doesn't offer a lot of action, like for example War of the Ancients did. It's a lot more in the direction of dialogue and conversations, similar to what we saw in War Crimes. These dialogues are often pretty emotional, surprisingly. There were also a couple of moments that I was chuckling to myself, and what probably stood out the most for me is how a known, established part of the lore that is now actually being challenged. Times change, and the factions, they find themselves under new leadership, new ideas and possibilities compared to the ways of old. It not only introduces a new way of thinking, it actually guides you into believing it a possibility, and even starting to cheer for it, even hoping that it could work. It's probably going to lead to quite a lot of discussions on the internet. Some are going to love it, some are going to hate it. But all in all, I'm just impressed that they still dare to take a chance with the storyline and actually try something new. I always find it super difficult to make a review and not actually spoil anything. But speaking for myself, I noticed while I was reading the book that around the first 50 pages or so, there's a lot of setting up going on, as in familiarizing people with characters, with situations. Those that might have experienced previous lore before, they will know what is going on. It's a great thing for newcomers to the series, but for those that are familiar, you might want the story to get on already. It does eventually take off, and when it did, I found myself just devouring the pages and wanted to know what was coming next. There are some very nice little lore tidbits and clarifications sprinkled throughout the storyline, with a conclusion that leaves you wanting more, which is great of course, for a book that's supposed to complement the next expansion. That's what I really like. I believe it complements the next expansion. I don't necessarily believe it's a must-read to understand what is going to come next. In the past, we have books, for example War Crimes, that's probably the worst offender of this. War Crimes, it pretty much set up the expansion Warlords of Draenor, and for those that didn't read the book, you were probably very surprised to see that Garrosh was on Draenor again, as the game, it just did a very poor job at telling that story. In this case, I don't think the book carries such a heavy load, since the game already tells it quite a bit. Instead, it complements it, and it gives you a better understanding as to where the factions and their leaders stand, going into the next expansion, going into Battle for Azeroth.
What is this? We don't know.
It would seem the Horde does, and we must find out more.
Agreed.
All in all, I quite enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend picking it up. Now, I'm very excited to see where the story is going to flow into the next expansion, and what the story is going to be. But like I said, we'll talk about all the delicious spoilers and the little further details at a later date. For now though, I hope I was able to give you my opinion on Before the Storm. Just maybe even make you curious enough to pick it up for yourself. And until next time guys, see ya!